Holy crap, I'm literally sweating and out of breath after that pay-per-view. That was insane. Greetings, people of the interwebs, it's Dan here, and welcome to my review of WWE Extreme Rules 2016. A really interesting pay-per-view. It was super up and down, like super up and down emotionally, super up and down wrestling-wise. It was just a very, very, very interesting pay-per-view. Yeah, that's all I can say. So, where do I start, man? There were like a lot of good matches on this card. Like, Extreme Rules had a ridiculous card. Not the best matches, but I mean a decent match setup was good. So the first match up on the card was the Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler match on the pre-show. Corbin won on End of Days after a low blow. There wasn't really very many no DQ-esque moments for a no DQ match. It wasn't really that entertaining for a no DQ match. I mean, like, apart from the no blow, there wasn't really any, like, heelish Baron Corbin no DQ-esque moments. Yeah, Baron Corbin beat Ziggler after an End of Days and a low blow, so that was that match. Then there was the Tornado Tag match between the Usos and the Club, aka Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I found out Tornado Tag, which is the type of match that this was, means that all members of either tag team are legal throughout the match, so it's basically a glorified version of a Fatal 4-Way. But yeah, all four members were legal. The Club ended up winning. I mean, there were some decent spots. You could predict the Club winning from a mile away. You know, the Usos were beating them on free TV. They couldn't have beaten them at pay-per-view. So yeah, I mean, like, kind of predictable there. But yeah, Usos win. Usos lose to the Club in the Tornado Tag match. Next up was Kalisto versus Rusev for the United States title, and I was super predicting that Rusev would win because Kalisto's just kind of gone stale as the US champion. He's sort of run out of stuff to do. Get that he's an electrifying wrestler and he's a great high flyer and everything, but Rusev could just do more, and especially with John Cena returning a week from tomorrow on Raw, I mean, like, I'm telling you, that opens the door so wide for anything to happen. Yeah, it could be crazy with John returning on Memorial Day of all days, the day that we celebrate our veterans, and with Rusev, this guy who's allegedly anti-American in his gimmick, holding the United States Championship. So who knows? With this rivalry between John Cena and Rusev could be taken to a whole nother level from where it was around WrestleMania time last year. So I'm kind of hoping that gets rebooted again. But anyway, Rusev beat Kalisto. Again, a little bit of a predictable result. Next up was the tag title match. Man, we're ripping and rolling through these first few matches, man. Next up was the tag titles. Vaudevillains versus the New Day. Admittedly, it did get kind of close, but the New Day ended up retaining. Xavier Woods was taking a beating from the Vaudevillains, but he ended up tagging in Big E, and they saved him and everything. And the Vaudevillains actually got super close because they did this weird, spinny, neck-breaky combo thing on Xavier Woods, and they nearly pinned him to take the titles, but he kicked out at like 2 3/4. They didn't end up winning, but yeah, I'm kind of glad that they didn't win. It was a really good match for Xavier Woods. It really put him on the map as like, holy crap, this guy can wrestle. Absolutely. I'm actually starting to like the New Day. They're kind of starting to grow on me a little bit. So yeah, that was enjoyable. Of course, New Day retained. I wouldn't think that Vince would put the belts on the Vaudevillains after he's already said that he thinks the gimmicks are stupid and that he regrets calling them up to the main roster. Kind of predictable there. Next up was the match of the night. It was an incredible, incredible, incredible match. It was the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental Championship between Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and The Miz. Now, you've got 4 great workers here. I don't exactly like The Miz, and it's not even because he's a good heel. I just don't like him because I'm sick of him and I want him to leave. Anyway, I don't really like The Miz, but I still think he's a good worker, and I still think he could put on a great match. So I was actually really excited for this one. I knew going in that it was going to be match of the night, and boy, did it live up to expectations. I really wanted Cesaro to win, because he really deserves it. He deserves a big title in the WWE, but I don't know, man. It was a little bit of an interesting match. I actually came up with this pun in my head when the match started because right after the bell rang, Sami Zayn ran over to the opposing corner where Kevin Owens was and gave him a haluva kick to start the match. So I thought to myself, I was like, that was a haluva start. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But anyway, all cheesy puns aside, out from the haluva kick at the start, the beginning of the match wasn't really that entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, but it was mostly just like, oh, look, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have this feud. Look at them. and it started turning into the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn show, which I'm not gonna say what pissed me off, because like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are great workers and they can put on an incredible match, but you've got two other great workers that could add so much more to this match and take it to that next level. And, you know, for the first while, they just weren't that involved. It was just the KO and Sami show. So that just kind of got a little bit annoying. But then, you know, oh, and also, one thing I want to point out from this match, JBL is friggin' ruthless with his insults on commentary. Because Byron was talking at the beginning of the match, and don't get me wrong, I don't like Byron as a commentator, but I at least respect his right to be a human being. But JBL was like, Byron, if you were on life support, I'd pull the plug to charge my phone. What? What? You're saying that you would rather let another human die so that you could get some battery power on your phone rather than have him be alive and maybe letting him say a few words here and there? I mean, I get it, Byron Saxton is not good at commentary, but lay off a little, JBL. And like I said, it was really turning into just KO versus Sami. Then, Miz got involved. Miz and Zayn were trying to double-team Kevin Owens on the top rope to try to superplex him from the top rope. But then Cesaro came up underneath both of them and triple superplexed all three of them down to the mat. All three of them. A triple suplex. Think about that. And then actually, Zayn and Miz were in the corner as well, the opposing corner, up on the top rope. And then Cesaro got up underneath both of them and delivered a double belly-to-back suplex, or German suplex. You could call it a variation of a German suplex, but I would consider it more of a belly-to-back as opposed to a genuine German suplex. Yeah, he delivered a double belly-to-back suplex, which was sick. Cesaro shows incredible strength, but the announcers never mention it. I mean, they mention it at the beginning, like, oh, this man's one of the strongest superstars in the locker room. Yeah, I get that, but you never mention it whenever he shows legit insane feats of strength during a match besides his swing spot. And he did the swing spot, we'll get to that in a minute. Between the three of them, probably at least 750 pounds, and he just triple superplexed all of them. So I thought that was pretty insane. And then he did the uppercut spot, which was so freaking cool. He threw all of them into one corner and did the bang, and then ran over him bang, and then ran over him bang, and then ran over him bang. And he did like 10 uppercuts, I think, all in a row. And it was great. I think he delivered like 10 of them, or something along those lines. So he did the uppercut spot, which was awesome. And then he threw Owens and Zayn out of the ring, and they were down and out. And The Miz hit him with the skull-crushing finale, but luckily Cesaro was able to kick out at 2.5. I was really glad that Cesaro kicked out of the skull-crushing finale. And then he did that thing, which means he's about to do the swing spot. And then he picked Miz up by his legs and did 20 swings. 20 of them. 20 swings. Do you see this? 20 swings. Mickey James. But 20 swings! Oh my gosh! But seriously, 20 swings to Miz was just absolutely crazy. I think that's like right up there with the most swings I've seen him deliver. I know he's delivered like 100 in the past, but you know, whatever. I enjoyed 20 of them. And then, it ticked me off, because the same thing happened at Extreme Rules that happened at Payback. Cesaro had Miz in a crossface, and Miz was tapping like a madman on the mat, but the ref was distracted with Owens and frickin' Zayn on the outside of the ring, even though it's no DQ. They could do whatever the hell they want on the outside of the ring. It's no DQ. They can't get disqualified, so why are you worried about them? Like, at least make it look like a reasonable work. Like, at least have one of them go down with a injury to at least make it look like a work for the ref to be away whenever Cesaro is making Miz tap. Because, like, it didn't even look reasonable. It didn't. And it just ticked me off so bad because Miz was tapping and Cesaro was the champion just like at Payback, but he wasn't paying attention. And then he got up, and then I thought Miz was going to win in the exact same way that he did at Payback with a roll-up on Cesaro for a 1-2-3, but Cesaro kicked out at 2, which was great. And then, actually, Cesaro actually hit a neutralizer on Miz. Went for the pin, but Zayn actually broke it up after that. And then there was another insane kick out from Cesaro. I can't remember what move it was on. And then Zayn actually got him with this insane, like, flipping pin counter. It almost looked a little bit like a Canadian Destroyer-esque move, but it was just like a flippy over, like, pin counter that he did. I don't even know what it was, but Zayn countered him all right. And then Cesaro kicked out and then delivered a vicious uppercut counter to Sami Zayn off the move he was trying to do. And then there was another kick out at 2 by Sami Zayn. There was a super kick from KO on Cesaro and on Sami Zayn, and then there was a scuffle with him outside with The Miz. And then Owens, and then then, I'm sorry, Zayn was left in the ring alone with Cesaro, and he did a ton of work on Cesaro. He did so much damage to Cesaro, it was ridiculous how much damage he was doing to Cesaro. And then he went for the pin, and then Kevin Owens pulled him out, and then Sami Zayn started focusing on Kevin Owens. The IC title was right there in the ring for him, and he just went and focused on Kevin Owens. And then The Miz crawled back into the ring. He was down and out for like 5 minutes on the outside of the ring. And then all of a sudden he comes to and staggers into the ring on his stomach and lumps his arm over. Like, I'm talking barely lumps his arm over, like with this limp shit. Like, he just lumps his arm over. And it's like, oh, 1, 2, 3, Miz retains. It's a Match of the Year candidate, but it's just such a disappointing ending. I don't get why it ended that way. It just sucked, because there was so much potential, like if Cesaro would have pinned to win, or even if Sami Zayn would have pinned to win. It would have been a great win for either of the two of them. So I'm a little bit ticked off, because Zayn basically did all the damage to Cesaro, and then Miz just stole the title, essentially. I feel like Miz stole the title, and he really doesn't deserve it. For the second pay-per-view in a row, I feel like Miz doesn't deserve the title. So yeah, I was literally out of breath after that match. I was just so tired, and I couldn't even be at full energy for the rest of the pay-per-view, because there was just so much energy that went into watching that match. It was ridiculous. But next up was the first ever, never before seen Asylum match between Chris Jericho and Dean Ambrose. Well, hey, and I'm not gonna lie, the first 2/3 of this match or so was just a snooze fest. Like, I'm telling you, it was an absolute snooze fest. Super predictable. Oh, climb up, grab a weapon, get it taken away from you, maybe deliver a couple of harmless hits, and then continue wrestling like normal. Like, it's not even a steel cage match. It just got really boring, but then it eventually got interesting. I honestly felt like it was going to be super underwhelming, which it kind of was. But then Dean Ambrose pulled down some nunchucks, and he's got some mad, like, nunchucking skills, and like he can work those things. And I love seeing him delivering just nunchuck shot after nunchuck shot to Jericho. That looked incredible. I was like, yes, Dean Ambrose with nunchucks, thank you. So yeah, that was great. And then, oh, Jericho pulled down that long strap. It turns out it was made of leather. I figured it was just some kind of long strap that they could use to tie their opponent to one of the ring posts so that they could just go ham on him with any of the weapons from the top of the asylum. But no, it was a leather strap that was being used to beat the crap out of people. And Jericho was delivering some pretty decent shots to Dean Ambrose, but then Dean Ambrose took the strap from Jericho and made Jericho's strap shots look childish. Like, he was nailing him full strength in the back. He was hitting him across the face. It was just, oh my gosh, vicious strap shots from Dean to Jericho. And speaking of shots, there were some good cheap shots being delivered by JBL to Byron on commentary, but that was basically the only commentary highlight. And to give you an idea just how boring the first 2/3 or so of this match was, the first 2/3, potentially even 3/4, to give you an idea just how boring it was, Dean Ambrose went to the top of the cage, corner turnbuckle, and he jumped off, delivered an elbow drop to Chris Jericho from the top of the cage, and it didn't even get a good pop. Okay. That shows just how boring this match was for a while. Elbow drop from the top of the steel cage, and there wasn't even a decent pop. So, I don't even know. It was kind of not really that interesting. But then, oh my gosh, but then Dean Ambrose pulled down what looked like a normal plastic bucket. He pulled out a little black bag looking like something that Booker T might use or something. I don't even know. He pulled out this little black bag out of the bucket, and then he poured it onto the ring, and it was thumbtacks. Yes! Thumbtacks! I was so happy. Like, seriously, some of the best matches that I've seen have involved thumbtacks. So, I don't know, it was really interesting to me to see thumbtacks get involved from Dean Ambrose, and it took forever for them to use the thumbtacks. Like, if they didn't use the thumbtacks, I was going to be so disappointed. It would have probably been the worst match of the night for me, just because they didn't use the thumbtacks. But yeah, I got so excited whenever they pulled out the thumbtacks. And then, actually, Chris, down on the mat from the top of the cage, actually ended up getting Dean Ambrose into the walls hold. But that Dean Ambrose cleverly grabbed a kendo stick from the edge of the ring, and he actually used it to beat him and break the walls. Break the walls down! I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. Anyway, but all cheesy, pun-based songs aside, it actually started to get interesting. And then, you know, Jericho was taking a barbed wire 2x4 to the stomach of Ambrose, and that was just real interesting. Oh my gosh, Jericho got wrecked. He was trying to pull a code breaker on Ambrose, and he jumped up with his knees up near Ambrose's face like he does whenever he's about to lay back into the code breaker. But Ambrose caught him in that position and slammed him back first into the tax. Ugh! Is this even PG? Like, seriously, it looked so brutal. And Jericho just like, oh my gosh, he had like dozens and dozens and dozens of tacks inside of his back and in his legs, and like, oh, it just looked so bad, and he was just like bleeding out of these pinhole wounds, and these were legit tacks as well. So it was ridiculous. So that was a ridiculous code break counter onto the tacks. He hit Dirty Deeds for the win, and I think Jericho even caught a couple of tacks to the face on the Dirty Deeds, and Ambrose actually caught a few tacks to the back as well on the Dirty Deeds. So yeah, and he did Dirty Deeds for the win. I'm thinking Jericho might need to take another hiatus after that match. That was just crazy. And then Charlotte versus Natalya, arguably the most disappointing match of the night. For the Women's Championship, Ric Flair banned from ringside. But Charlotte always finds a loophole! Ugh! I want the belt off of her! Give it to Sasha, or to Becky, or to some freaking buddy! I want it off of Charlotte! Ugh! I hate this woman. But anyway, let me explain. So it started, it was a little bit boring for the first while. It was just them kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then Natalya actually started to take over. She delivered a real nice German suplex, and then actually went immediately into the sharpshooter. Charlotte was so far from the ring, and guess what? There's no daddy here today to help you out with that. And but Charlotte got to the ropes, but Natalya actually physically pulled Charlotte off the ropes. That shows you how friggin' strong Natalya is, you know, and she pulled Charlotte away from the ropes, and that was just ridiculous. And then this is where it pissed me the hell off. Dana Brooke, for whatever the hell reason, I don't even know if she's a friend of Charlotte's or if she's a friend of the Flairs, like frickin' Charles Little Nate Robinson, little prick. I don't know if she's a friend of the Flairs or anything, but she came down dressed as Rick and distracted Natalya, which I don't even know how you could believe that it was like actually Rick, because like the hair was the wrong color and it was the wrong style, and she was wearing a robe, which Ric Flair never wears down to ringside anymore. And like, how could you believe that? Like, that just makes Natalya seem like a gullible idiot. But yeah, that was a distraction. And Natalya got put into the figure 8 because Dana Brooke distracted her. Tapped. Charlotte retained. I hated the finish. I hated the finish. I hated the finish! If Charlotte could just have a good finish to a match, please! I'm sorry I'm getting so angry, but it just pisses me off. Because this is God knows how many matches in a frigging row that Charlotte's had a fluky, janky, cheaty, loopholey finish. Have her win legit and have a decent finish. She could still be a heel, she could still do heelish things, but have her win legit once! Please! Okay, and JBL just made it worse because like, way to go, Charlotte! Hell yeah, that's a true champion right there! Having it handed down from her father, Ric Flair, the greatest champion of all time! Hell yeah, that's a champion! Way to go, Charlotte! I wanted to punch his friggin' teeth out! Oh my gosh! So yeah, that match probably goes down as the worst match of the night in my book, and then Dana Brooke was literally kicking Natalya while she was down. Natalya was down on the ground, just really suffering after tapping out, and then Dana Brooke literally kicked her out of the ring. And after the match, I was just like, for frick's sake, why is life even a thing if things like this need to happen? But yeah, moving on to that, into another disappointing match. Another! Oh my god! And it was the main event as well. Anyway, let me just get into it. So it was the main event match. I knew Roman Reigns was going to retain going into it, but much like Payback, I actually, a little bit into the match, had some hope for AJ Styles. I had hope. I had hope! I had it! I had hope! But no. Nothing, let me get into the match, right? This was the most predictable match on the card for me. I pretty much knew that in the end, no matter how insane the spots were, no matter how good AJ looked, Roman Reigns was going to retain. So, and JBL, for frick's sake, you're the worst commentator on the panel. You're even worse than Byron. Get the hell off. Seriously. Because he's saying things like, Roman Reigns feeds off the support from this crowd. It was the biggest chorus of boos I've ever heard in my life. Roman Reigns is getting literally booed out of the building, and you're saying, he feeds off the support from this crowd. Look at him. Poke my eye out. But the Roman sucks chants were great. Kevin Dunn's gonna have a busy time in the editing truck to put this on the network, isn't he? But yeah, and I enjoyed them getting the kickoff panel table involved in the spots. That was decent. Styles went for a Styles... You know, they eventually got back down to the ring from the kickoff panel table, and then Styles was going through for a Styles clash through either the Spanish or the German announce table. Yeah, that didn't work. And then Roman just flung him like a leaf over top of him for a back body drop down through the main announce table or the Spanish announce table. I can't remember which one. But yeah, he ended up going through one of the announce tables that was remaining. And then, yeah, that kind of sucked for me, because I'm like, really? Styles was actually looking dominant, and then you just have Roman Reigns make one move, and then Styles looks like nothing. I don't know, man. That just kind of sucked for me. But the "You Still Suck" chants afterwards were brilliant. Again, Kevin Dunn is going to have a busy time in the editing truck, trying to get those boos and those chants deafened down to put this up on the network after this is over. So, yeah, he's gonna be busy. And then Reigns! They have to make Reigns look inhumanly strong, don't they? They cannot give Reigns one moment of looking weak. They can't even give him one moment of looking like a weakling. I mean, John Cena even had his moments of looking like a weakling, and he's been the face of the company for the last decade. And this guy, you're trying to push him to be the next face of the company, but he can't even look weak for 1 minute. Like, seriously, this guy's had the championship for like 2 months, but it already feels like 2 years. Like, seriously, he's such a predictable and boring champion. And he kicked out of the Styles Clash twice. And, like, you need to understand, in Japan, Styles Clash was like the end-all move. That was it. If you got hit with the Styles Clash, you did not kick out of it. That was not a move that you would kick out of in Japan, the Styles Clash. And Roman Reigns just kicked out of it twice, because, you know, he's strong. And, But anyway, I believe I was on the Styles Clash. Sorry, I got a phone call. And like I said, Styles Clash was like the end-all move in Japan, and you didn't kick out of it. But yeah, Reigns got out of the Styles Clash twice. Once because of the Usos, because they pulled Styles off of him just long enough to give him just enough energy to kick out at 2.5. So that was just super annoying. And then the club got involved and delivered a boot of doom to Reigns, which was awesome. And then Reigns actually kicked out of the boot of doom, which was a little bit stressful. And then, Jesus Christ, the chair shots. Styles, I think, just snapped. Something snapped in his head, because he got a steel chair from Gallows and Anderson, and he just went crazy after, I believe it was either the second kick out of the Styles Clash or the kick out of the Boot of Doom that just had him go crazy. He delivered like 3 chair shots to Roman Reigns, delivered a chair shot to each of the Usos, 3 chair shots back to back to back to each of the Usos' backs, another 4 or 6 chair shots to Roman Reigns' back, more chair shots to the Usos, even more chair shots to Roman Reigns. He probably delivered about 20 chair shots, split between the Usos and Roman Reigns, most of them being delivered to Roman Reigns. And then he went to the outside. Roman Reigns looked done. He looked finished. And Styles still looked like he had a ton left in the tank. He went outside on the apron of the ring, was about to jump up for the phenomenal forearm. Like I said, Roman Reigns looked dead in the water, and then all of a sudden he pops up, a weak-looking spear, covers Styles 1, 2, 3. Match is over. So yeah, that ticked me off. Yeah, I didn't like the way it ended, because like I said, Roman Reigns looked done, dead in the water, and Styles was going to deliver a phenomenal forearm and probably be done with it, but then Roman Reigns delivered a really weak-looking spear. Like, whenever they played it back in slow motion, it looked even weaker than when it was done in real time. A really weak-looking spear to AJ Styles, and then all of a sudden, that just, bang, turned the match around instantly. So, yeah, it was just a really, the main event was really disappointing, but the pay-per-view itself was alright, and then, whenever Reigns was down on the ground, he started to get up, and then without any music, Seth Rollins came out, and he had like a minimum of like 9 months, I think, either 9 months or a year, because he had one of those really bad injuries that keeps like baseball and football players out for like a year. So they were expecting him to be out for like at least 9 months, potentially a year. And this is only like the 5-month mark. And like he came out and he delivered, I believe it was a pedigree, I think, to Roman Reigns. And then he stood there and he picked up the belt and he just kind of looked at it, and the fans went crazy. They went crazy whenever Seth first came out and was attacking Roman, and they were chanting, "Thank you, Seth! Thank you, Seth! Thank you, Seth!" because he delivered a pedigree to Roman and was looking at the belt, and he had finally come back. I'm so happy! Someone might take the belt from Roman! I'm so happy! Oh! But yeah, Seth Rollins made his return tonight. John Cena is probably going to make his return next Monday. It's a good time. But yeah, the ending made up for the horrible main event in and of itself. That was great. Seth Rollins looks incredible. He looks badass. He looks mean. He looks ready to go. So yeah, man, I can't wait for Seth Rollins to get back into competition, man. I mean, I feel like Seth Rollins needs to come back as a massive babyface, have Reigns turn heel on him, maybe like have Dean Ambrose be stuck in the middle, and then have a triple threat at SummerSlam, Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. Do it, book it now. But yeah, that's my opinion on Extreme Rules. If you had any differing opinions on Extreme Rules, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, if you liked this video, then please do leave a like down below, and also don't forget to hit that little red button down below. It's where you can get email and text alerts anytime I upload a new video. You certified G's and bona fide bosses, stay safe, and I'll see you at a later date. Farewell.